In Texas, the latest winter storm hits the south. The north is in for another deep freeze. How serious is the terrorist threat against American shopping malls? A CBS investigation. Patients sent outrageously expensive prescriptions they didn't order.
What is in those creams that is worth $18,000?
And a photographer helps veterans reveal their inner selves.
This is the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley.
In much of America, it is a dangerous night to be outdoors. There are winter weather advisories across the south, wind chill advisories across the northeast, and another storm is sending temperatures plummeting and vehicles skidding across the ice. We have two reports and a forecast. First, Adriana Diaz in Texas. Adriana?
Scott, this is one of Dallas's busiest highway intersections. Normally, this would be bumper-to-bumper traffic, but this on and off sleet storm has brought roadways to a cautious crawl. So far, there's been one traffic-related death and 300 accidents. It looked like a monster truck derby on Interstate 40, just outside Amarillo. 25 vehicles, mostly semis, banged up and broken after sliding on icy roadways. Outside Dallas, drivers had to reverse off an icy highway ramp, and one driver tried to push another up a slippery incline. Tony Hartzell is from the Texas Department of Transportation.
Sleet is a little more challenging because people think that it acts a little bit like snow, but it's a lot slicker. It can look like it's passable, but underneath could be that black ice.
At the Dallas airport, more than 1,000 flights were canceled, and the American sniper murder trial in Stephenville was postponed. This person turned a slushy parking lot into a four-wheel drive skating rink. But it was serious business for the 300 plows and de-icing trucks deployed to stay ahead of the treacherous conditions.
I'm Anna Werner in Monterey, Tennessee, where conditions were also treacherous this weekend. Power crews are working overtime. At the height of this historic ice storm, 50,000 residents were without power. But as the storm subsided and foggy conditions lifted, by this evening, power outages were down to 20,000. The main job for emergency personnel today became checking in on elderly residents stuck in cold homes.
You're still good on food?
People like 71-year-old Bill Heitz, whose son in Indiana was worried and asked police to drop in. He was trying to stay warm using a patio heater, not meant to be used indoors, and police found it was leaking carbon monoxide.
Come over to the shelter about 3:30 or 4 o'clock. If I don't see you, I'm coming back out here.
Mr. Heitz was brought to an emergency shelter here after he also told police that he started his car in his garage trying to stay warm. Of the 26 people who have died here in the past week, Scott, 9 died from exposure to the cold.
Anna Werner, thank you very much, Anna. And now for the forecast, we're going to turn to Eric Fisher, the chief meteorologist at our Boston station, WBZ. Eric?
Well, Scott, we're tracking more messy, wintry weather here across the southern states, working their way over toward Alabama and Georgia. That trend will continue overnight. So as we head through the overnight hours, tomorrow morning's drive, the Atlanta metro heading over toward Columbia, eventually closer to Charlotte. We'll be looking at snow, freezing rain, and sleet all mixed together. Really dangerous conditions out there on the road. Snow totals heaviest in the Atlanta area, especially the northern part of the metro, up into the mountains of North Carolina. There's another storm that's lined up behind this one. This is Wednesday into Thursday. Pretty much the same areas, that I-20 corridor northward, looking at more significant snowfall. That will wrap up on Thursday morning and usher in more cold. Cold, big part of the story for tonight. Look at tomorrow morning's temperatures out the door. Well below zero, some record lows likely to fall into the northeast. Another batch moves in on Wednesday, reinforcing this cold. Yet another Arctic front, and that will lead us all the way into the weekend. Scott, after that, maybe a little improvement.
Eric, thanks very much. Well, if you beat the weather today by going to the mall, you may have been thinking about the new threat made against American shoppers by a terrorist group in East Africa. That threat came in an online video, and here's Jeff Pegues.
The video calls for attacks modeled after the terrorist assault on the Westgate Mall in Nairobi, Kenya in 2013. That attack killed 67 people and made the al-Qaeda affiliate al-Shabaab known worldwide. Now the group is urging followers to carry out similar assaults on shopping centers in the West, with specific mention of America's biggest mall just outside of Minneapolis.
What if such an attack was to occur in the Mall of America in Minnesota?
The video also encourages attacks on malls in Canada and in England, as well as shopping centers run by the company Westfield, which operates 38 malls across the United States. However, in a joint intelligence bulletin, the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security said the video is not an indication of ongoing al-Shabaab plotting in the West, but is likely an attempt to gain further attention for the Kenya attack. The real threat is from lone wolves who may sympathize with the message, presenting law enforcement with limited opportunities to detect and disrupt plots, which frequently involve targets of opportunity. For a few years now, police have been training for lone wolf attacks on malls and schools. Active shooter drills like this one just outside Washington, D.C., emphasize confronting assailants as quickly as possible, even while the shooting is still going on. In response to the video, the Mall of America has increased security. Scott, al-Shabaab has found sympathizers in Minneapolis' large Somali American population, where more than 20 people have been charged with attempting to join the group.
Jeff Pagay is in our Washington newsroom tonight. Jeff, thanks very much. Tonight, in a remarkable investigation, CBS News correspondent Jim Axelrod and producer Emily Rand have discovered that unwitting patients across the country were sent millions of dollars in medications they didn't order. The medications are made by compounding pharmacies, which mix custom drugs for doctors. But in this case, the combination of a compounding pharmacy with a telemarketer added up to outrageous bills to Medicare and private insurance.
Last April, John Picard got a call from a telemarketer about an alternative treatment for pain.
What kinds of questions did they ask you?
Do I ever have pain? Do I have needs for medication?
Picard gave the caller permission to speak to his doctor.
Did you authorize them to seek a prescription?
No.
Which is why Picard and his wife Meryl were surprised when these jars of prescription creams and gels showed up 3 months later.
Our immediate reaction was, oh my goodness, someone else ordered medication and they sent it to us by mistake.
It wasn't a mistake, and their insurance had been billed. $2,500 for a pain cream, $3,600 for a migraine cream, and nearly $13,000 for a scar gel.
$18,680 and change.
You must have been stunned.
All I saw were egregious billing for something John didn't want. We had no idea how to use. We didn't know what was in it.
The call came from a company in American Fork, Utah, that went by several names, including Action Medical and Western Medical. Rachel Wirtz worked in the billing department.
We spoke to a couple, and they were billed $18,000 for these creams. 3 creams. Is that unusual?
No, not for 3. Oh no. $18,000 for 1 month's supply of 3 creams. That's about right.
Western Medical pitched the creams as a free benefit paid by insurance. If a patient said yes, Western Medical told their doctor, one of your patients has expressed interest in a non-invasive topical cream to help alleviate pain, and sent over pre-written prescriptions for the doctor to sign.
Why do you believe your doctor signed the prescriptions?
We had been discussing the topic of pain, and they took advantage of that in the ways that that memo and that fax implied.
Sources linked to Western Medical tell CBS News the company collected up to 200 prescriptions a day, billing them to Medicare and private insurance for more than $1 million a week.
This is really abuse in the marketplace.
Dr. Steve Miller is the chief medical officer at Express Scripts, the nation's largest pharmacy benefit manager. They paid for John Picard's creams, but recently stopped covering many of them because, Dr. Miller says, there is no research proving they work.
If you talk to almost any pain expert, they'll tell you that these things are working strictly through a placebo response and not through a physiologic response through the pain receptors.
The creams were formulated and produced at Downing Labs, a compounding pharmacy in Dallas.
A quick thank you to all
Ashley Downing and her husband and co-owner, Chris Downing, recently hosted this red carpet event to celebrate their pharmacy's multi-million-dollar growth. Last month, we sat down with the Downings to ask them about their business.
Did you have any knowledge that products produced by Downing Labs were being shipped to people who hadn't asked for them, and insurance companies were being billed at these kinds of rates.
We became aware that there were issues being made and that people were not happy. And when we then sat down as a company and we decided that we are no longer going to have a relationship with them.
So if I am talking to somebody who is working at Western Medical and they're telling me that the sales
we should
practices...
just go ahead and just...
And just what?
Not do this anymore. I was not prepared for this at all.
Then let me ask you one more question. What is in those creams that is worth $18,000?
So we don't determine the formulas on that. So I mean, you know, we're done. I'm done on this.
Or the pricing, I think.
The Downing said the insurance company sets the price. They declined our repeated requests to explain the relationship with Western Medical. But during our visit, we saw sales orders for a pharmacy affiliated with Western Medical for the exact same products they ship to the Picards.
We're all paying for this. This is not just me and John and our little account. These numbers are eventually spread across everyone in terms of what all of us pay in health care.
In a statement to CBS News following our interview, Downing Labs said they did not have any involvement in billing or submitting any claims for Mr. Picard and received only the cost of the medication plus a small compounding fee. Through an attorney, the owners of Western Medical declined to comment on this story. And as for John and Merle Picard, after making numerous complaints, they did get the charges to their insurance reversed.
But you have to wonder how many did not. Jim, great reporting. Thanks very much. Today, Honda's CEO said he is stepping down. Sales have slipped while recalls have soared. Under Takanobu Ito, Honda has recalled more than 6 million vehicles in the U.S. because of defective airbags made by the Takata company that can explode. At least 6 people have been killed. New research could change the way doctors treat peanut allergies. A new medical study out today could transform the way doctors prevent peanut allergies. Turns out keeping kids away from peanuts may be the wrong thing to do. Here's Dr. John LaPook.
8-year-old Evan Woolen is enjoying a peanut butter sandwich. When he was a baby, his mother Kerry thought this would never happen.
He was borderline allergic to peanuts, which I personally think would have developed into a peanut allergy.
At 10 months, Evan was enrolled in a study challenging the idea that peanuts should be avoided in the first year of life.
I had quite little bits of peanuts. I had this peanut snack, which I had to have about 3 times a week.
Researchers followed more than 600 British babies 4 to 11 months old who were considered at high risk of developing peanut allergies because they had eczema or an egg allergy. One group avoided peanuts. The other, that included Evan, ate a small amount of peanut protein every week. After 5 years, the kids eating peanuts had 81% fewer peanut allergies than the group that didn't eat them. That's exactly the opposite of guidelines from 15 years ago, withdrawn in 2008, that recommended excluding peanuts from the diets of infants and toddlers at high risk for allergy.
I think this should change clinical practice.
Dr. Hugh Sampson is an expert on pediatric allergies who is not involved in the trial.
I would encourage people with babies between 4 and 8 months of age to come in and get evaluated and get started on peanut protein if you're at high risk.
Today, Evan has no signs of peanut allergy. In fact,
my favorite food is peanut butter, which does have a lot of nuts in it.
Researchers excluded children who were highly allergic to peanuts based on special skin testing. So Scott, Dr. Sampson suggests that any strategy by parents or other caregivers to give peanuts to either toddlers or infants should definitely include input from a health professional.
John, thanks very much. Life is changing dramatically for a single mom who just joined a very exclusive club. Her story just ahead. A strike by 6,000 oil refinery workers has entered its 4th week. It now affects 15 refineries and could pressure gas prices. They're up 26 cents in the past 4 weeks to a nationwide average $2.30 a gallon. Marie Holmes just had a big jump in income. She is one of 3 winners in this month's $564 million Powerball jackpot. She claimed her share today. The other 2 have not been identified. Holmes is a single mother of 4 and lives in a trailer in North Carolina, but not for long. She's going to take a lump sum of $127 million. That's before taxes. In a moment, we have some amazing images to show you of American veterans reflecting on their lives. "70 years ago this very day, Joe Rosenthal of the Associated Press snapped one of the most famous photos of history. 5 Marines and a Navy corpsman raising the American flag at Iwo Jima. We'll end tonight with a photographer who uses his camera and a mirror to help veterans open their lives to the world. Here's Wyatt Andrews.
The photos ask veterans to reveal who they are as reflected through the mirror. On one side, we see what we are used to, proud service members in uniform, but on the other is any image the vets show for themselves, their unabashed joy, their unrelenting pain, the liberty to be whatever.
I love this, it looks good.
Here's the concept. The photographer Devin Mitchell creates the mirror images, but never suggests what anyone should be.
The only way to get the truth from anyone is to allow them to create what their story is.
This is their choice, 100%.
Your choice of uniform and your choice of who you are in your everyday life.
In his everyday life, Marine veteran Chris Van Etten, who lost both legs in Afghanistan, now has a modeling career. That stare into the mirror is a message.
The goal is that someone will look at that picture and be like, okay, I need to keep going. It will get better.
One of the clearest messages is the pain of PTSD. The vets want us to see the drugs, the pills combined with alcohol that they use to fend off depression. Marine veteran Andrew McLaren said that this message,
my idea was to write 21 saying that, hey, I'm not going to become a statistic,
is his resolve not to be the 22nd veteran today to commit suicide. But just before this photo was taken, he unleashed pure anguish at his struggle.
I just want to kill myself every day, and the only reason why I don't do it is because of my kids.
Hey man, it's gonna be all right.
It feels like it was hard to be in that room.
I felt like he was in a place of need, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the world except for in that exact very spot so that he could have his outlet.
You felt like if he needed to let that go, you were happy to be there.
I needed to be there. Those are the places where I want to be. I wouldn't change it for anything.
But then, in so many photos, there is unmistakable celebration, family reunions that no one takes for granted anymore, the pride in having served next to the relief at being home, and a portrait evolves of an earned sense of freedom, which was the point of wearing the uniform all along. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, San Diego.
And that's the CBS Evening News for tonight. For all of us at CBS News all around the world, good night.